Hello class. Today we're going to do a After Effects project together and it's called Spring. First you want to download the folder from Google Drive. Now I'm going to go into After Effects. Now in After Effects I'm going to make a new project or Command N, and I want to say import, file import, navigate to my Spring folder, and I'm going to select use your space bar. You can get a preview. So I think I want branch converted. Import as footage, that's correct. Say open. Now I have this footage in my project, and you see up here in the project information window, it's the name, the size, the length of the clip, the color space, and the compression. If you select footage in your project window, you can say File, New Comp from Selection. So it creates a composition based on the settings and length and depth of your footage. So I'm just going to check, I'm just curious what the composition settings are. They're custom. I am going to change it to NTSC DV. And background color white. The duration is the length of my footage. It's 4 seconds and 1 frame. I did change this to NTSC DV, which is 720 by 480. I'm going to say OK. Now you notice that I have these bars on either side of my footage. This is not because my footage is a strange size. It's because of the pixel aspect ratio. I can click on the footage in my project window and say File, Interpret Footage, Main. So File, Interpret Footage, Main. And all these are for another day. Today we're looking at pixel aspect ratio. Let's try that to square pixels. Let's see if the proportions seem to be correct. Because I have preview checked here, I can see the result of my selection before I close the window. And what that does is it matches my footage pixel aspect ratio to the standard size NTSC DV. I'm going to select the footage in my composition and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to say Edit, Duplicate, or Command D. Command D is the quick key. So now I have two layers that are the same thing. I'm going to turn off the bottom layer. I'm going to say Window, Tracker. Before I do that, I should play it. You see how the camera moves? It drifts a little to the side, I think because I was holding the camera. So I'm going to select this layer and I'm going to warp stabilize it. So under Tracker, Warp Stabilizer, turn it on. You should get this message, Analyzing in background. Let's see how long it takes. So now I'm going to play my footage. The footage is stabilized. Like how does this work? How does Warp Stabilizer work? Our bottom layer was our control layer. We only changed our top layer. I'm going to say T, letter T on my keyboard for opacity, and I'm going to turn it down. And then I'm going to turn back on my control layer, and you see that's kind of showing you the difference between the two layers. One layer is warp stabilized and the other layer is not. So I created this little demonstration by duplicating the layer, applying warp stabilizer to the top one, and then making it slightly transparent and looking at them superimposed on top of each other. I'm going to move this back to 100% opacity. So this was just for demonstration purposes. I don't need this anymore. This was the original layer. Apply a motion tracker, and we're going to use the information from that motion tracker and transfer it to a graphic so that the graphic will have the motion of the branch. So first I have to track a point in this footage. So I'm going to say window, tracker, our trusty tracker, the same one actually. This time we're going to go to track motion. So with branch converted selected, my footage selected, I'm going to hit track motion, and notice up here the layer opens. So now we have two windows. One is the composition and one is the layer. And inside this layer we have our special tool, which is the track point. So here we have this outside rectangle is the search area. This area, this inner square is the feature region. And then we have in the middle the actual track point. When I click on this inside square and I move it, it gives me a magnification of the pixels. And I'm going to put my tracking point right on top of this dark spot, right on the tip of the branch. That is going to be my tracking point. Tracker is one of those menus I find that often opens partway. And if you open it up this way, you'll actually see more options. I'm going to click on options. And you see I'm going to track. You can track by any of these values. I'm going to track luminance. Right? Luminance is brightness and darkness. Well, brightness is our perception of luminance. I'm going to track luminance, which is that dark point that I chose right here. If confidence is below 67%, it's going to stop tracking. Say, okay. So now we just have to make sure our timeline marker is at the beginning of the clip. Make sure it's at the beginning, and now I can say analyze forward. So I'm going to click on analyze forward. It stopped because it lost confidence. I'm going to see if I can get it to keep going. So it stopped once because it wasn't sure, but then I asked it to continue. I clicked on this play button, which is analyze forward. Now I have that motion tracking. And if I open the layer motion trackers, you see under tracker 1, all these keyframes were generated. So it's a wonderful automation of very organic motion. This footage, we've actually done two things to already. We warp stabilizer and also our track motion.